The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Alison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events.
Hey everyone, welcome to another night of RAP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special returning guest tonight. We have Carmen Turner-Schott joining us. She's going to be talking about her new book that she co-wrote with Bernie Ashman on Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, Releasing the Past and Embracing the Future. So please welcome Carmen back to the show. Thanks for being back on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Last time is the last talking about your Phoenix and Angels book, and so I'm interested in this one because you're adding a little more in depth to astrology with these nodes, which I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
So can you kind of tell us what that is about? What are the nodes? Like what is this, and what does it have to do with the astrology?
Sure. So one of the most important things about astrology, is that it's energy. Mm-hmm. And most people know their sun sign, their moon sign, their rising, their top three. But when I started doing astrology, it's about probably 10 years or more before I ever really learned the importance of the north and south node. Mm-hmm. And what the nodes are, it's I don't want to get too technological, but a basic is like, just to make it very simple and basics how I like to teach. So mm-hmm. so basically it's a point in the sky that is based on the moon. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a point in the sky that astrologers calculate, and we call it the nodes. Mm-hmm. So right now, for instance, the nodes of the moon change signs every 18 months in the sky. Okay. So right now, the nodes are in Aries and Libra, mm-hmm. okay? Mm-hmm. And in astrology, we have polar opposite signs. Mm-hmm. There's 12 signs. Every sign has a polar opposite. So mm-hmm. when we look at nodal pairs, it has to do with, it's always going to be the polar opposite sign. So it'll be Aries and Libra, Taurus and Scorpio, Gemini and Sag, Cancer and Capricorn, Leo, Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces. Because those constellations always oppose each other in the sky all the time. Mm-hmm. So if your nodes, we want to look at, everyone's getting affected by the nodes in Aries and Libra right now, which are known as the nodes of relationship karma. Mm-hmm. So if you look back the past several months, mm-hmm. since nodes shifted from Taurus and Scorpio, they went into Aries and Libra. And then in January of 2025 coming up, mm-hmm. the nodes are going to shift signs, which is a big deal. And that means the energy is completely going to shift on how we're affected. And the nodes will shift into Virgo and Pisces. Okay. Mm-hmm. So right now, everything is Aries Libra energy. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, we have the sun is in Libra right now. Mm-hmm. We had a new moon solar eclipse in Libra yesterday. Yeah. We have Aries full moon coming up this month. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of energy and issues and I would say karma mm-hmm. from what my clients and friends are sharing with me that do with relationships, mm-hmm. conflict in relationships, negotiation, learn to compromise. There could be more arguments, more tension, more blow-ups mm-hmm. with people. You could have people off. You could try to be working on a relationship. You might end a relationship right now. So there's all of these things. People from the past might come back into your life. You know,
God. I don't know if that's always a good thing.
Right. Forgive me for what I did. So right now, all of the world, even if you don't believe in astrology, you're affected by the Aries Libra nodes right now. We all are, because that's what's in the sky. But when you're born, in your birth chart, when this book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, we talk about the nodes in your natal chart, in your birth chart, which is the map of your soul. So when we're born on a certain date and year, exact time and place. And it's like we're looking up at the sky at that moment, time, place of birth. And it's like we take a picture of the sky and we put it on a piece of paper. And astrologers make it a wheel, and we make it symbols. So it's all these symbols, okay? But you can go on astro.com. You can contact me at carmenturnerschott.com to get a free birth wheel, okay, if you want to know where your nodes are. But if you already kind of know astrology and have your chart, then you know that it looks like a circle. And we break the sky into 12 sections like a pie, okay? So when you're looking up at the sky when you're born, and the time, place, date of birth, every planet is in a certain star constellation, which are the signs, and it's in a certain area of the sky when you're born. And we cut it into 12 sections, which are the 12 houses, which are areas of life, and that's energy, okay? Health, work, career, home and family, relationships, all of the houses have a meaning. And we take a picture and we put it on a piece of paper, and that's how we analyze your essence, your soul, and your personality. But everyone kind of knows, I'm a sun sign Virgo, or my moon is in Aries. I'm emotionally, that's our emotional sign. The rising signs, how people perceive us, how we physically look. But the North Node, it looks like headphones, okay? And it's like a horseshoe. It is our soul mission this lifetime. So it's why our soul came to Earth in the first place. It's the most, in my opinion, and Bernie and I wrote this book together, it's the most important placement in our birth chart. It's more important to me than the sun, the moon, anything else, because it's actually why your soul chose to come back to the Earth, okay? And so the North Node, the sign that it's in is the energy and traits that you're here to master. The house that it's in is the area of life that those energies and lessons will manifest for you, okay? So everyone, there's many people that are born in the same year. They could have in the same kind of month. They could have the same node sign, but they have a different house.
Okay.
So, there might be, a lot of people born on certain times that all have Aries North Node. And like my daughter, she's 2004. Almost all her friends are North Node Taurus, okay? Because they're all born. But all of them have a unique birth chart based on your time, place, and date. So the area of life that they're learning to master is different, but they're all learning to become more Taurus, okay? And so I'll explain this. So the South Node is your past lives. It's what your soul has already mastered. So whatever sign it's in is what you want to look for, guys, in your birth wheel. And it's an upside down headphones, like an upside down horseshoe. That is what you've already learned. That's kind of the essence of your soul. So for me, I'm a South Node Taurus. So I don't like change. I like stability. I like comfort. I like food. I like peace. I like harmony.
Right.
I resist change, right? And I'm a little stubborn, a little strong-willed, and that's how I used to. But we all have mastered our South Node, and we're not comfortable with the energy of the North Node. But we're here to learn to balance the North and South nodes. And it's kind of like in the sky with polar opposites. Every polar opposite sign in astrology is actually compatible. They're the most compatible person for you. So like if you're Aries, you're going to click with Libras. You're going to be drawn because there's a similar energy and you share similar health vulnerabilities, and it's also a compatible element. So if you think with air, fire, earth, and water, every fire sign's polar opposite is air. Every water sign's polar opposite is earth, and so on. Because those elements in nature naturally get along, right? They're compatible. So that's why we're here to learn to balance both of the energies of the North and South Node. But this is the cool part about it, is that we don't even feel our soul mission until our first Saturn return. So the first Saturn return, we talked a little bit about in the book, happens between the ages of 27 and 30. Okay? And that is when we call it the birth into adulthood. Because in astrology, Saturn is the planet of karma. It's the planet of discipline. It's the planet of responsibility, and it brings its debts. The debts our soul has to pay, good and bad. And Saturn can be a little harsh, a little heavy energy, right, in our chart. But when the Saturn return happens, 27 to 30, if the listeners think about what was going on in your life at the ages of 27 to 30, there's typically major life changes. You get married, you have a baby, you divorce, you have a health scare, you lose a parent, you move, you change your career. Everybody has told me I've ever met, I've done thousands of charts, that age period, oh yeah, that happened. It's a science. It's validated, right? It's energy. And so once we get out of the first Saturn return at age 31, we feel kind of like a weight lifted off. But that's the first time ever that Saturn triggers us into why we are here. And that's like, hey, your soul mission is to go and be a Scorpio in the third house of communication, or your soul mission is to be a Capricorn in the house of home and family, right? So we all are moving towards the North Node, but we don't even feel the energy of it until after age 31.
Wow, okay.
So if you think about it, your whole life you're living in the past. You're living in your past lives. You're living in the robot routine of what your soul has already mastered. Okay. And you bring all those gifts and those talents and those abilities into this lifetime, and they're natural to you. You're naturally going to have traits of your South Node. If you really look at the science you'll see, oh yeah, I really am a lot like a Taurus or a Leo, right? And that's because you have been. You've been that energy, that essence, and you've mastered it. And what happens is life starts trying to, the universe starts saying, okay, now you're awakened, and you're here to fulfill a mission. You're here to something that your soul chose to come here to do. And a lot of people are like, there's no way I would choose to come here. And I'm like, you did. We know we don't think like we do when we're in our conscious mind, right? We think as a soul. And our soul wants to learn lessons. Our soul wants to balance debts and karma, and they want our soul to experience things. And so we choose to come back. We choose to be born in our parents and everything in the ideal time to come back in as an energy. If you think of it, it's just energy. So the cool thing is, after 31, everything in our lives that happens to us, good and bad, are triggers along the way to get us into the North Node. So in our book, we talk about each North Node set, which I could go through each pattern, tell you what their learning is, okay? Real basic. So these issues in our life are just happening to awaken us to it. And so I'm going to talk about the learning of each node pair. And then I'm going to tell you about the second Saturn return and what that means and what I typically see with that as well. So, and also parents, children, different relationship things I noticed with the nodes. So Aries, Libra nodes, that means that your North Node is in Aries or Libra, or South Node is in Aries and Libra, right? And these are the nodes of personal relationship, intimate relationship, karma, marriage, love, more of those kind of relationships. And it's all about, if you think about it, Libra is all about other people. They are all about having a partner. They rule the house of marriage and partnership in a birth chart. They're all about peace, harmony, compromise. They're all about, how can I please others? How can I make other people happy, right? They tend to neglect their own needs for their partner, in astrology, if you look at just the sign Libra. Then you look at its opposite, Aries. Aries is all about the self. They're known to be self-centered. What about me? What about my goals? Wait a minute. And they're very good at speaking up and being assertive and direct, straightforward, and they're a warrior. They're self-reliant, where Libras can be a little bit more codependent. So the energy that people with these nodes are learning is to balance speaking up for themselves, and they're learning to balance selfishness with selflessness, balancing their own desires and getting what they want with pleasing and being compromising with other people and being fair. Libras want fairness, justice, equality. They like to have a partner. Their identity comes through another person, because they're one of the only signs in astrology whose symbol is not a living thing. If you think about it, they're the metal scales. All signs have a living, symbol, like a ram, a maiden, or whatever, a lion, right? They're metal. So that's why they need other people to fulfill themselves. They can't help it. That's their goal, their mission. Now, Aries, so these are the nodes of commitment. because Libras like to commit. Aries have a hard time with commitment. They like their freedom. They like their independence. Right? So if you have these nodes, I have seen in 90% of the charts I've done, and people I've researched, there's usually a divorce, or there's more than one marriage. There's endings, there's separations in relationships. That is the karma of these nodes. So I think I've met maybe one person ever that didn't have that pattern of divorce, but that's because they never married. Because that's the other pattern I see, is that sometimes people with the Aries Libra nodes choose to remain single, or they feel like the universe blocks them from meeting people that they want to meet. Like they just don't really meet anyone, right, that they like. And so I hear all kinds of different ways this energy can play out, right, in our real lives. But these nodes are about learning to be to balance our relationships, to balance our own needs with others. And so, for instance, if your North Node is Aries, you have already had a lot of partnership and you've mastered marriage, and you're so used to having people take care of you and support you. Now you're like, I don't want a relationship. I want to be independent and self-reliant. Or you feel like you want a relationship, but it's like it's blocked. It's blocked. It's like, because you have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet and be okay, number one, being alone, not having anyone to take care of you or help you, or a partner. And you're kind of you feel like you have to do everything by yourself, and you can't rely or depend on anyone, because that's what your soul came here to learn, to stand on your own 2 feet and not need a relationship to fulfill yourself. But once you learn the Aries North Node lesson, that's when the universe sends you a partner. So I always tell people with these nodes, you're eventually meant to have a partner, but it might not be when you think it is or when you want it, right?
Right.
So those are the important nodes there with Aries Libra. Now, Taurus Scorpio, these are the nodes of letting go and releasing the past and forgiveness. These are the nodes of healing, okay? Because Taurus Scorpio nodes are all about change. It's the nodes of, Phoenix energy, Scorpio, the Phoenix, transformation, rebirth. They have a lot of loss in their life. Sometimes they lose loved ones. They have to go through grief and death of a loved one, often at a young age. There's a lot of that. These are my nodes. I lost a friend when I was 16 through an accidental shooting. Oh, wow. And death has always been kind of losing people I love has always been a pattern in my life that has really changed. So, I'm meant to be a Scorpio. I'm a South Node Taurus. So these nodes are all about, they go through a lot of change. So people with these nodes often tell me that they struggle emotionally because they feel like life is always unsettled. There's always like a crisis, right? And these people do really good in a crisis. They're able to balance and do what they need to do, right? So these nodes are really good for healing others. A lot of them go into spiritual work, energy healing, astrology, all these different fields to help people in some way, right? So they have to learn, though, to let go and forgive others, but also let go and forgive themselves, right, for anything they do that has maybe hurt others, etc. And they're really need depth and deepness in life, and so their lives are always changing, and they have to transform and be reborn like a phoenix throughout their lives. Okay, people with these nodes, and then we have the Gemini Sagittarius nodes. These are all about the nodes of learning and knowledge. To me, these are lighter, fun nodes, right? If you think about it, because they're the travel, exploration, adventure, foreign things. Meeting people from other countries and cultures, and learning different religions, eating different foods. Exploring the world, and they love to talk and communicate, and they love to learn. So these are the nodes of knowledge and learning to balance. Geminis. They're both restless. So there's a restless energy about these nodes. So they're always like they need to be doing something or on the go, and there's always like movement, right? They need movement. And so I always tell them, go on a trip, travel, you're meant to do that. Take a class in something you've always wanted to learn, right? Those kind of things. So, and communication is big with these nodes. Being a communicator, potentially learning to be a teacher, right? A writer, sharing your knowledge with others. That's important with these nodes, right? And then we have the Cancer Capricorn nodes. These are the nodes of family karma. Parents, grandparents, your home, your family, your kids, your spouse. So people with the Cancer Capricorn nodes, they are often, I would say, oh my gosh, 99% of the time, people with these nodes tell me that at some time in their life, they had to take care of one or both of their parents, either emotionally, financially, physically, maybe move them into their home, have to help them when they get older, right? Or the one that feels responsible, even if they feel responsible for taking care of their parents. And they often, they feel responsible taking care of their family. So they are learning to balance home and family with their work and career. And, all of us in the world are trying to do a work-life balance, because we all have families. We all work, we all have to pay our bills, right? And try to spend time, and it's hard. But the people with the Cancer Capricorn nodes, it's kind of a double whammy for them, because, they really have to learn to choose between home and family and having a successful career. And they got to figure out how to balance it, because they're always tested with that, right? They really have to figure out what's most important to them. Sometimes they have to sacrifice their career to be home and maybe raise their kids, right? Or take care of their mom or dad, and have to quit working to be there for their family members in some way, their extended family, and things like that. And so, I always use my mother as an example, because she has the Cancer Capricorn nodes, and she took care of my grandmother, and now she's helped my grandfather. She's never left her hometown. That's common with these nodes. Like they live where they were born. They don't move. They live in their hometown, and she lived in my grandparents' backyard. They when I grew up, my grandfather built her house. So, but she's taking care of him now. So there's that's their destiny. That's kind of their learning. Is they're meant to do that. That's their soul mission. Right. And so when I explained that to Mom, she's like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense, right?" Because that's kind of how her life is played out. Even though she doesn't know astrology, you can see these things. And then Leo, Aquarius, these are the nodes of self-expression and being free and innovative and creative, and allowing yourself to do all these artistic and creative kind of things. And Leo, Aquarians are intellectual, and they're very they can be detached from emotion, but they're known to be friendly. Both of these signs are friendly. Leo is bubbly, friendly, larger than life, the ruled by the sun. And both of them are very rebellious in a way. They don't like to be told what to do. They like to be, in charge. They like their independence, their autonomy, their freedom. And so being unique, being eccentric, being creative, that's what these nodes are about. Learning to balance emotions with detachment, right? Friendship, acquaintances. These are the social nodes. People with Leo and Aquarius know how to socialize. They have lots of networks. They know how to network. They know how to connect with people, right? And they know how to connect the right people. So that's what their learning is, okay? And then you have Virgo, Pisces. These are the nodes of service. And so when you look at Virgo is about practical service, and it's about having a routine, getting up the same time every day, eating breakfast, taking your vitamins, exercising, getting enough sleep. Pisces is about escaping from the real world and from all those mundane, boring, earthy things that Virgos do. They don't like that. They want to connect with their power and be spiritual. They want to meditate. They want to learn, why am I here? What's my soul mission? They want true love, right? They want to find love and romantic at heart. They're creative. They're artistic. They're musical. So it's balancing. Spiritual service is what Pisces are good at, helping people with their problems. They're very empathic. They lack boundaries with others. They pick up other people's problems. They feel sorry for people, right? And they want to help others and they feel people's pain. And then Virgo wants to fix things. They like to let's fix the problem, and they have practical solutions, right? So these two are learning to balance spiritual service and practical service, right? And also diet, taking care of the body. People with these nodes often struggle with some type of health issues. Okay. And that's kind of one of their biggest challenges in life and soul mission is to get, if they're misdiagnosed, or figuring out why am I having, these allergies, or why am I not sleeping? They have a lot of lessons with that can come out as health issues. Okay. So those are the 12 signs, the 6 pairs, okay, that we talk about in the book. And in the book, we give tips. So we give tips on, how do you master the North Node in Aries? We give tips. How do you master the North Node in Libra? North Node in Gemini, South Node you're meant to let go of. We talk about that in a very basic way. Our book is really simplistic. It's not a really long book. It's very easy to read. Anyone that doesn't know astrology can read it and understand it.
Right.
And that's what me and Bernie wanted to do when we wrote this book, because we wanted to make it for anyone to read about the nodes and learn their soul mission is, and they don't have to be an astrologer. They don't have to know astrology, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That was our mission, with writing the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, going back a little bit, how did you get involved with astrology?
Yeah. Well, it was crazy. So what really got me, and I didn't know what astrology was. I was raised in the Midwest in the Bible Belt. I was actually raised Baptist, and I always had these unexplained experiences that I couldn't explain. I would dream things that would happen, and that started when I was, young, probably 15. And when I was really little, I always was afraid of the dark, and my mom told me I had imaginary friends. I used to sleepwalk. I kind of remember sleepwalking. And I remember waking me up, and I was trying to get out the door in a hotel and in my house. Yeah, I was like a sleepwalker, and I don't remember. Yeah, my mom's like, whoa, my grandparents caught me trying to get on an elevator, apparently in Florida. I think when I was 13. Yeah, I was just very, I always felt different than everyone, and now I know why, because I know astrology. But at the time, I just thought, why am I so sensitive? I was very, I could feel when people were sad. I was an empath, but I didn't know what an empath was. I mean, no one taught me this. I wasn't raised in a family that even knew these things. So when I was 16, two things happened that changed my life. One of my close friends had stayed the night at my house, and we had talked the next day at the ballpark, which I worked at the cages. And she, I watched her from a distance, and something seemed strange. Something wasn't right. I had this weird feeling, and I remember watching her. I can still see it in my mind, her playing catch. And that night, she was shot and killed. Oh my gosh! When I came to work the next day, I was 16. They said all the games are canceled because she died. And I'm like, what? What? No. My mom calls, you need to come home. And back then we didn't have cell phones or anything. She called the work at the place. I went home, and it was on the front page of the newspaper in my hometown. Wow. And I never had anyone that I've known that ever died. I'd never been to a funeral. So that changed my life. In that same year, I woke up one night, and there was a glowing orb in my doorway, a glowing ball of light about the size of bigger than a softball. It was water, yellow, translucent, and it just was floating there. And I always had to have my door open so I could see out, because I was terrified of the dark, because I always felt like there were people in my room. Oh, yeah. Mom would say, go back to sleep. It's just your imagination. My whole life. Poor mother, I used to wake her up every night yelling or screaming or running in there. And she's like, it's your imagination. So I always had my door open where I could look out. I had my night light on out there. I never was sleeping in the dark, ever. And I laid there, and had a basketball game that night. And so I kind of riled up. I could, and I finally I played basketball. Finally went to sleep. And I woke up in the night, maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I look, and it's floating in my doorway. And I tried to scream. I had no voice. I tried to move. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. It's like it froze me, is the only way I know to explain it. And I called it an orb. At the time, I still called it orb. But I laid there for hours watching it. And the only thing I could control was my mind. And I remember just repeating, please don't have it come in my room. Please don't have it come. And it never entered my doorway. It just stayed in the door sill. But it never came inside my room. Oh, wow. And it took off down the hall, came right back and floated. It went into the bathroom, it came back out. So I saw it move. Yeah. And after hours, it's like it finally released me. And I screamed out, Mom! And finally, it's like it let me yell. And I'm like, look in my doorway. Do you see it? And our house is really small. And my mother said, yes, she saw it. Wow. The first time I had her see something that I felt or saw, and I knew I wasn't crazy, because she said, what is it? She said, I don't know. And, and my dad wasn't there. Him and my brother were on a fishing trip. And I said, what the heck? She said, maybe it's a lightning bug, trying to rationalize it. Oh, my gosh. I said, it's huge. I said, it's too big. I know it's too big to be a lightning bug. She says, no, maybe someone's shining a flashlight in the window. I'm like, no, it has form. She's like, just go back to sleep. So I laid there terrified watching this thing until I passed out. She didn't even get up. I was scared to get up. And the next day, I got up and I went in the kitchen, and she looked at me and she said, that was not a lightning bug. I don't know what that was. And she was scared. Yeah. And I said, Mom. And so I started researching angels and spirit guides and orbs. And my mother worked with a lady that was in this group called Eckankar. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Eckankar. This was back in the early 90s, man. And it's like a spiritual group, kind of like the Theosophical Society or something.
Yeah, right.
So they believed in, spirits and angels and orbs and all that. So she told my mother it was a spirit guy or a spirit or an angel or something. I got really fascinated with that, and I started learning all about it, and I started researching the pyramids and aliens, you name it. And I decided to go in this little mystical bookstore in St. Louis, Missouri called Mystic Valley that's still here today.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
actually doing a book signing there on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's still here. It was back in the 80s. The founder's daughter, he passed away, and his daughters took the store over and they run it.
So cool.
Yeah. So I'm going there to do a book signing for this book on Saturday. But it was really cool. I went in there, and I'm, what am I, 16? And we used to go to St. Louis to go to the mall, and I went in there, and I saw this little book called Virgo. And I bought it because I'm a Virgo. And then I bought an astrology book. I didn't know what astrology was. It said Astrology, A Cosmic Science by Isabel Hickey. Yeah. That's who the author. I'll never forget. I still got the book. And I'm like, read the book. And I'm like, it was immediate. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, this is about people's personalities. Like, I was obsessed. Like, so back in those days, we didn't have computers. We had to draw charts by hand. I used to have rulers and paper, and I would draw. I would draw the symbols, and I did my own chart by hand.
Oh, wow.
The longitude, latitude, all the aspects by hand. I mean, I don't even know how I did it. Now I'm so lazy. I just pull up my computer program and it does the longitude.
Right.
I mean, you had to look everything up to know the longitude. Anyway, I did my chart that I figured out that I'm a 12th and 8th house person, which is why I wrote the Phoenixes and Angels book that we were on a couple years ago. But I realized everything astrology was saying was accurate, and it validated my personal experience. And I became obsessed. So at 16, I taught myself astrology. I spent 3 years practicing on people at college and graduate school. I started doing consults started my business when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
I'm 49 now. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been my passion. It's been my passion. Yeah.
I was going to say, you have a lot in there. And when you were going through, like, I don't know what my note is or anything like that. Like, I need to figure it out. I mean, I was born in April. Yeah. Obviously, I'm an Aries, but yeah. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because I knew nothing about that part of astrology. So now I'm like, okay, now I got to figure this out, because the more I talk to people that have done astrology, like, I didn't know there was like Western and this and, Chinese and and then they combine them and everything, and then you have pig and all this, and then you've got your water, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so overwhelmed by it all.
Well, don't be, because the thing is, I tell people, every modality is a tool. It's a tool of self-awareness. So I got a friend. She's a Chinese astrologer. Her and I are going to write a book together.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we're going to try to bring a basic thing in about the Chinese animals and the Western signs and how they're similar. It's just based on, they base it on the moon. We base it on the sun and the ecliptic and the season. Yeah. It's just a different approach. Now, Vedic, it's also very accurate, but it shifts everything a little bit. Like your sign is shifted over. It shifts everything because they don't go by the tropical astrology, which is what Western. They go by where everything is in the sky right now, which they believe has shifted over just a little bit. And but I believe, like in ancient culture, in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it says that God created the heavens and the earth and the signs and the seasons, because that's why astrology works, because it doesn't change. Western astrology is based on the seasons of the year. That's why Aries rules the spring. It starts the zodiac. It never changes. And so I believe that tropical astrology is the most accurate. That's my opinion, but I've dabbled in a lot of all of them. But they all have truth in them, and they all are tools to learn about yourself. And so I don't think anyone's right or wrong. Right. But if you believe that tropical astrology, that's what I use, that it really has validated people's lives. And so that's why I stick with it. I don't start doing Vedic and I'm a tropical astrologer. I believe it's very accurate. But I also believe there's accuracy to the Chinese signs. So I'm learning more from my astrology friend who writes books on Chinese zodiac, and it's so different. It makes my head hurt. And then she's like, "Oh, you make my head hurt." We're like, well, let's come together and write something basic so anyone can understand both. So that's what we're going to end up doing. It might be a couple years, but we're going to do it.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I know you talked about you have a book signing coming up Saturday. Do you have any other events or anything that somebody who's listening may be able to find yet?
Yeah, this is cool. So our book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, is the book of the month for Kepler College of Astrology right now.
Cool.
So for the month of October, it just went live this whole month. You can go on and join their Facebook page. You can go to Kepler's Facebook page, and you can join the book club. Right. It's a monthly book club with Kepler College of Astrology, and our book is featured this month. And all month, so cool. People can read it. There'll be different, discussions. And then at the end of the month, me and Bernie are going to go live with Kepler College of Astrology on October 25th for Facebook Live event.
Oh, very cool.
And you'll get to ask us questions about the book live if you want to join. But you'll have to join that Kepler Book Club Facebook page, and you can find out more on Kepler's Facebook page as well.
Okay.
Kepler.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, besides the Chinese and Western astrology book that you have kind of in the works, is there any other books that you're working on?
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay.
So next August, I have a book coming out with Llewellyn, and it's called Your Astrological Energy.
Oh, very cool. Wow.
And I just submitted the final manuscript like 2 weeks ago. So it isn't released until next August. It takes a year, the publishing. But the cover is already on Amazon for Kindle pre-order.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
But you have to actually type in the title because it's not even searching in the search yet because it's so new. But yeah. Cool. So I've been working on that. And then I have 2 new books in the works that me and Bernie have another book in the burner, and then me and my friend for that. So I'm going to keep writing, but I'm taking a break right now because my husband, he's fed up because I've been on the computer so much.
He's like, when are you going to be off that damn
thing? Actually, enjoy life. All you do is work. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. Take a little break.
But sometimes when you're passionate about something, you just can't help it. You get caught up in it,
Yeah, I come alive. It's my favorite thing ever.
Oh yeah.
And I get excited talking about it. And there was a time where I didn't do it. I didn't do charts for a while. I kind of took a hiatus, and I raised my daughter. But I always had my side business, so I do charts when I felt the energy was right. I used to do fairs. I used to go teach at psychic expos. I had booths. I mean, I did all that stuff for years in Ohio and in St. Louis. But I would say I really got back into this full time when I started writing my books again, writing books. Mm-hmm. That's what got me back on my path, which is my North Node in Scorpio. I'm meant to do spiritual work, and I'm meant to teach. Mm-hmm. I'm meant to teach because I'm a North Node in the 3rd house. So knowledge, teaching, the basics, teaching things on a basic level. Mm-hmm. So I try to teach astrology in a simple way, so people like it and they're drawn to it and they don't get scared from it. Like, like what degree is this and this and that. People freak out like, what? Oh, it's too complex. And every time I go on a podcast, they're like, Carmen, just explain it. You explain it so simple. And now I understand it now, and that's my goal. Like that's, I feel like I'm doing my soul mission when I'm explaining it on a basic way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, do you do any kind of workshops or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I do classes. Like I've done some workshops for Kepler College of Astrology. Mm-hmm. I'm in the works for possibly teaching some classes with them. I'm doing my own. I offer my own, workshops as well. Mm-hmm. I do events like this month. I'm doing this launch code event in St. Louis, Missouri, at the planetarium with about 6 other astrologers.
Oh, cool!
It's a big event. Yeah, I did it last year, and it's really cool because we do many 10-minute readings all night.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow!
and it's like people, person after person. I'm pulling up their charts and I'm telling them real quick, and then the next person comes, and we do that all night, and then they feed us and they pay us a little bit. So I'm doing that, and I'm always open to getting on other podcasts. I get invited to different podcasts, and I always take those opportunities. And I have I had a monthly meetup. I have a monthly meetup. We took a little break, but we're going to start up again in November. Where people can join my monthly subscription, and we meet on Zoom twice a month.
Oh, cool.
We talk about astrology, self-care, spiritual stuff. Mm-hmm. We support each other. It's like a little support group. And I started with about 11 people. Now I'm down to about 5. But I'm trying to build that community and doing that because I just love to, connect with other people. I do my Facebook groups. I've been doing them since Facebook started. Wow. I have an 8th house astrology group and a 12th house astrology group.
Oh, cool.
And I do a new moon circle sometimes with an energy healer friend of mine.
Oh, that's cool.
Do a big new moon. So we're probably going to do one coming up soon. Mm-hmm. We do it like 3 times a year. We decide to do it quarterly instead of every month.
Right.
So to get enough people. Yeah. It's just a busy time, but I love to teach and I love to write. So that's kind of what I'm doing. My mission. I'm trying to do my soul mission. So I get right.
You're doing it.
I want to come back, man. But come back, as I tell people. So, I don't know. I don't feel like I want to, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're doing it. You do a wonderful job, and I've loved the books that I have read. Where can people? I know you're on Instagram, and you said Facebook. Is there any other social media platforms? Your website? Anything that our listeners can get a hold of you if they need to ask a question or want to find out more about you or books, etc.
Sure. Yeah, Carmen Turner-Schott, SCHOTT.com, and then I have a YouTube channel. I'd love for you to subscribe. Carmen Turner-Schott is my YouTube handle. I'm trying to post more videos. I'm trying to, I'm going to start getting that going more when I get some time. But I work full time. I have a full time job as a social worker. So I have 2 jobs. So once I retire, from my normal job, I'll be doing a lot more time to teach and do fun things. Yes.
Oh yeah. I hear you too. Yeah. This, podcasting takes up time too. You got to do your research and everything else, but it's like, I also, I have a full-time job as well. So I hear you there, but it's funny that you say you're in social work because, you're on your path. Honestly, you're on your path because you're helping others.
That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. And learn along the way to have boundaries and to stand up for myself and speak up and be assertive. I'm an Aries moon. So, and it's in the 8th house though, so it's like I repress it.
Well, thank you, Carmen, for being on. It's always a pleasure to have you on. You're a delight to talk to, and you're full of information. But you brought a lot more information to me from astrology that I hadn't heard of because I've, like I said, I've just recently learned about some other types, but then you brought in nodes, so that's another thing that I had no clue about. So thank you for that. Make sure, everybody, you check out her book. I know it's available on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's probably at Barnes & Noble, anywhere where you can buy a book. It is Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, releasing the past and embracing the future. So make sure you guys check that out. Get it. I will post her information on our social media as well. And thank you once again, everybody, for joining us in chat. Thank you for everybody in that chat listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you, Carmen, once again for being on. It's always a delight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.